Are tacos back on the menu for diabetics? Well, maybe. Check this video out. When I first began to change my diet to deal with my runaway blood sugar, I didn't count carbs much. Mainly, I just tested my blood sugar like crazy about an hour after my meals to determine just how high my blood sugar peaked. If it stayed under 140 or so, I figured that particular meal or food was safe. If it soared over 140, I either eliminated it or modified it in some way until I got the numbers I wanted. But after doing this for some time, I began to realize I could pretty well predict about how high my blood sugar would soar by the number of grams of carbs in the food I was eating. There were some exceptions to this. For example, my body might be able to handle a meal of 30-35 grams of carbs occasionally, and my blood sugar stay in bounds if those carbs were coming from foods that had a lot of fat or fiber or both. Whereas if I ate a candy bar with the same amount of carbs, my blood sugar was off to the races. But apart from candy, bread, potatoes, and other extremely high glycemic foods, I began to get a pretty good idea of about how many carbs my body could tolerate. I can typically handle 20 to 25 grams of carbs in a meal without too much of a blood sugar rise. And knowing this affects the way I shop, and it affects the foods that I allow myself to eat. Tonight, I'm going to eat a food which some of you would assume would be off limits for diabetics, at least without doing some major substitutions. I'm going to eat tacos using regular store-bought food items and not substituting with any homemade keto version of anything. And almost certainly this meal is going to work for me. Now, I'll test myself and we'll see, but I'd be shocked if this meal pushes my blood sugar close to 140. And the principles I use in crafting this meal for myself is one you can use not only for a meal of tacos, but for many other types of meals as well. The first principle is to get the lowest carb food items available. The first thing that should come to your mind with tacos, as you think about those, is the shell. Whether using a soft tortilla or a hard shell, when you find these in the store, they'll be made out of wheat or corn, and they're not going to be made out of cauliflower or almond or coconut flour, so that's a problem. But when I went to the store some time ago and started comparing one brand after another, I spent quite a bit of time in the taco shell section, I found these bad boys. These are the La Tierra taco shells, and they're the lowest carb taco shells I have found anywhere. They have only 4 grams of carbs per shell, or maybe 4.1. A quick look at the package reveals 22 grams of carbs, which seems like a lot. But if you look more closely, you see that these 22 grams of carbs represent a serving size of 5 taco shells. Deduct the 1 gram of fiber from the 22 grams of total carbs, and then divide by 5, and you get 4.2 grams of carbs for a single shell, which ain't too bad. This means if I eat 3 tacos using 3 shells, I'll only have ingested 12 grams of carbs. And that's not too much, at least for me, provided that what I put in the tacos doesn't have too many carbs. Now, when you consider the basic ingredients inside taco shells, the first thing you probably think of, apart from the shell, is the hamburger meat. No problem there. Hamburger meat has almost no carbs at all. I know the standard line is that protein can raise blood sugar, and it can sometimes, but for me it simply doesn't do it much. Now, how do I know that? Because of my trusty blood sugar monitor. Another ingredient is the shredded cheese. Again, no problem with carbs here. It does have a few carbs, but very few. Another ingredient is lettuce. Again, hardly any carbs involved with lettuce. I'm going to put some cut up pieces of tomato, which will have a few carbs, but not too many. And finally, I'll top it with picante sauce, which again has a few carbs, but not many. Now, what's the total amount of carbs? Here's a disclosure. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that the 3 tacos, plus what I'll put inside them, will probably be no more than 20 or 22 grams of net carbs total. Now, there is one other issue. For many people, eating 3 small tacos, and these are small, that's why they don't have too many carbs to them, but eating 3 small tacos for a lot of people would not fill them up. Me neither. And so what will make or break this meal is what I'm going to use as a filler-upper. Many people would have a large helping of French fries, and that would completely spoil everything. Because when you're putting together a meal, at least for me, and I know I'm getting close to that 20 grams of carbs, then any other food I add is going to have to be fairly low carb so it doesn't push me past my breaking point. So French fries are out. Fruit is definitely out. What can I do? What can I use to fill myself up in addition to my 3 tacos? Enter the lowly avocado. Avocados are filling, they taste great, and they're low in net carbs. Now they have quite a few carbs, but most of their carbs are fiber carbs and they don't count as far as most people are concerned. So in addition to my 3 tacos, I'll eat an avocado, and I'm guessing with a fairly high degree of certainty, this meal will be fairly kind with my blood sugar. I'll be back after my tests and let you know. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed my taco dinner, and best of all, it did not send my blood sugar soaring. Before I ate, my blood sugar tested at 91. At 1 hour after the meal, it was at 120. Now, granted, that's almost a 30-point rise, but still, for a blood sugar peak after a full meal, that's not too bad, at least for me. And by 2 hours after my meal, my blood sugar had gone down quite a bit, and it was at 99. So that's good news for me. I ate a thoroughly enjoyable meal, got filled up, and my peak was just 120. So here's another meal that is safe for me. But I want this video and this experience to be helpful for you, not just in giving you a safe meal, but in the following points. First, you'll have to determine for yourself what you can handle, blood sugar-wise, in terms of carbs. This meal may or may not work for you. You'll have to run tests on yourself to find that out. Second, you need to do a lot of label checking to discover the lowest possible carb foods in the stores. Sometimes I'll be in one department in a grocery store for close to 10 minutes, checking one brand after another to determine which version of that food has the least carbs. I think I drive Benedicta crazy once in a while. One example of how this helps has to do with ranch dressing. There are ranch dressings that have 11 grams of carbs per 2 tablespoons, and there are others which have only 2 grams. So which should I buy? Well, you can figure that one out. Just as I looked through every possible brand and type of taco shell in the store until I ran across the 4-gram shells I had tonight, you need to start doing this in order to make sure you're not paying too high a price carb-wise for the foods that you're regularly eating. Third, it's important to be careful with the foods that you use to fill up with after deciding on your main dish. People typically use potatoes, bread, and rice as their filler-uppers, and these are disastrous for maintaining normal blood sugar. It's important that we satiate our hunger. We don't want to leave the table as hungry as we were before we started, but we must be careful with our side dishes and leave off the potatoes, bread, and rice. And fourth, you have to be a little controlled with your diet. The truth is, I could easily have eaten 4 or even 5 of those tacos, but I wasn't about to let myself do it. Stuffing yourselves to the gills every time you eat a meal is simply not smart, nor is it healthy. Practice a little moderation. Sometimes I think some of our keto doctrines have overdone things a bit when they suggest that you can eat all you want as much as you want as long as it's keto. Enjoy your food, don't deprive yourself or live in a state of constant hunger to be sure, but there is nothing wrong with a little self-control. And probably some of you who are doing keto and have plateaued and you're not losing weight anymore may especially need to consider this. Okay, that's it. This was a simple video and it was a simple meal. But when you string together one simple meal like this after another, day after day, month after month, meals that don't send your blood sugar into orbit, you will probably find yourself very pleasantly surprised the next time your doctor tells you your A1C score. If you appreciated the video, give it a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm will recognize its value and suggest it to more people looking for answers. And to make sure that you don't miss any of the videos we post, hit that subscribe button and then click on the little bell next to it. You'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless, and see you again soon.